Heffley.
Lily Heffley, right. 40-year-old murder.
40 years.
It's just a horrible murder case.
Lillian Lily Heffley was 40 years old when she was murdered almost 40 years ago to the day. And in all that time, nobody's been charged with her murder. A Fort Worth cold case report says the mother of two was killed by a pair of shotgun blasts, left to die in her Cadillac.
It's an old cold case, approximately 40 years old, that Lily Heffley went missing in Waco. She was last seen in Waco. Then her body was discovered in her car in Fort Worth.
Former DA Vic Feazell certainly recalls the case, while Heffley's best friend Julia Wilhelm still feels the pain.
I am still mourning that girl. I'm still in mourning. She was my best friend. I mean, we knew everything about each other.
District Attorney Barry Johnson told KWTX the case is on his radar, and he and others in his office have spoken with Fort Worth investigators. The McLennan County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit has been contacted by Heffley's family. They've done some digging of their own.
We reached out to them. They are looking into this murder. Other than that, I don't know a lot of the details because it happened in Tarrant County.
I personally reached out to the cold case unit of the Fort Worth Police Department, spoke to the investigator that was handling that particular case. I think that they're a little bit overwhelmed. They have over 1,000 cold cases in Fort Worth, and they don't have, they're down to one investigator.
News 10 made no fewer than 12 phone calls and half a dozen emails were sent to Detective Leah Wagner, the only detective assigned to the Fort Worth Police Department's cold case unit. But neither calls nor emails got any response. At least one piece of forensic evidence, a cigar butt of a particular type and brand that had been snuffed out on Heffley's dead body, was said to have been recovered at the scene. Johnson said when he and one of his investigators spoke with the Fort Worth detective, he was told it had been admitted for testing.
I know that a cigar was put out on her body, which indicates somebody with an axe to grind, probably. That would narrow my suspects right there. The DNA off the cigar is the absolute #1 thing that's needed to get this case solved.
Captain January said his detectives searched for Jerry Heffley, Lily's husband at the time of her murder. They believe he is still alive. But January wouldn't detail where Jerry Heffley might be, and he wouldn't say if detectives had spoken with him. Several family members say soon after the murder, Heffley's husband returned to his native Germany, where he remains today.
We have offered up our help if there's anything that we need to follow up here in McLennan County, because she was obviously from McLennan County when she was murdered in Fort Worth. But we technically don't have jurisdiction over that case.
The fact that she lived in McLennan County, went missing from McLennan County, was reported missing from McLennan County, and then later found in a car with no blood in it? No. That can be investigated here.
So many questions around this 40-year-old cold case remain. The only certainty is that it's still unsolved. Pete?
So one of the things I'm curious about, and we see this with a lot of cases, you know, you bring in different jurisdictions if it warrants it. You know, there's an inmate on the loose, you know, you've got the prison system that's involved, you've got the state and local, you even have like maybe the Marshal Service that's involved. I'm curious as to why the two counties or the two cities don't get together and kind of work this in pieces.
I can tell you why, and what I learned working with Paul Gately on this story. There's only one detective assigned to the Fort Worth cold case unit, and it's been very difficult for the McLennan County Sheriff's Office, it was for us here at KWTX, to nail that person down and to get a flow of information back and forth. So I think that's what...
Because they're so busy?
Well, whatever it is, I think that's what the Sheriff's Office here is up against. But there are more interviews that could be done, and this is a solvable case. So hopefully we get it out there and we can kind of make a difference here at KWTX. That's what this is all about. And Paul Gately, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's the muscle behind these stories. All right, over to Sean.